Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Lotus Chat Worldwide, episode 61, The Meaning of Time. And I'd like to welcome you all back to our repeat listeners and viewers. Thank you for continuing to join us week after week. And we cannot wait to continue to just inspire and or have you just want to continue to watch us week after week. So we really do appreciate it. And so today, as I mentioned, our episode is on the meaning of time. And why did we choose this topic? Well, I think it is very timely of us to have chosen this topic, considering that there are a lot of changes that we all go through in our lives and the changes that are going on even in this world. And what, often comes up is what is important to us in those moments during that time of our lives. So we're going to start off today's video by discussing what time means to each of us. And today we have our beautiful Lotus lady Jenn joining us along with myself. Say hi, Jenn.
Hi. And I'll jump right in. Okay. So to me, time is very precious. Yeah, to me, time is something that once it's gone, it's gone. It's like, this is the moment, this is the moment I'm with you right now. This is it. This is the time. And I think even more so as a working mom, I think a lot of women would relate to that. That time is something that you want it to be flexible, but yet it has to be structured because of all the other obligations and responsibilities that you have. So to me, time is something that is structured yet flexible. I don't know how to fully explain that, but I'm sure you get me.
Oh, Jenn, I completely understand what you mean by flexible yet structured in a way. Yes, I agree. I mean, because there's only so many hours in a day.
Yes.
And there's times when we all do need to get some rest, whether you are a believer that you only need 4 hours of sleep each night, or whether you're someone who needs their 8 to 10 hours. It really depends on what you consider important on a daily basis and how you spend that, those hours for those important things. For me, time is precious. And I really feel like it really says a lot about you, how you spend your time every day. I know that, some of us are very much, we wear multiple hats during the day. We juggle multiple plates. Some of us prefer to not juggle so many plates and prefer to really just keep our focus on, certain things throughout our day. I know some of us who like to schedule and make sure that they keep on schedule. And some of us who are more free flow with time, like, I'm just going to go where my heart takes me, or I'm just going to go with, something that I'm passionate about. And so there are so many different, I guess, there's so many different things that we can do, and so many, different us's that it really depends on like what you consider. For me, like what is considered precious when you use your time. I'm just drawn to a quote that I read by one of my favorite authors growing up as a kid, Dr. Seuss, who said, "Sometimes you will not know the value of a moment until it becomes a memory." Like, what type of memories are you going to make today? And that is a big part of how I make sure I spend my time. I may work, but I do think about like, what type of memory am I going to make today? Is it going to be a memory that is going to impact me, like my self-improvement, or is it a memory that I have with somebody that I love? So that's just some of the things I think about. And Jenn, what do you think? Like, since I did mention that we all try to juggle sometimes multiple things, how do we balance time to do the things that we ultimately love?
Thanks, Jenn. That's a really good question. When you said that just now from Dr. Seuss, right? The first word that came out to me is just being present. Sometimes we are at that moment, at that time, supposedly having a meal or spending it with the loved ones, but we're not there. It's like the time is passing, but the mind is not with that present time. So I think it's very important to also stay present when we are at that particular time, and really having our, the mind, the heart and soul be at that moment with the friend or the loved ones that you're spending that time with. So in answering the question on how do we balance time to do things that we love, for me, it's about prioritizing. Like, there are so many things, there are so many opportunities, it's never too little. So what I always go by, which I'm sure you know, is my Google Calendar. So everything is in my calendar, I can see it, so I can prioritize what is important. I can say no to, offers that come out along the way. And I always remember this: when I say yes to something, I'm also saying no to something at the same time. So when I'm saying yes to my kids on a school holiday, which happens to be this week, I'm saying no to work. If I'm saying yes to work, I'm saying no to kids. I'm aware of that. And I think that is very important as we decide what is our priority.
I love how you said that about scheduling and priorities, and how to balance in those things that we love. And you mentioned your children.
Yeah.
I think, yes, for me, like, because I work, a 9 to 5, and I have tried recently more so to become more mindful of making sure that I set time for myself on a daily basis, because I had a tendency early on, when I started working, to really get so focused in my work that I would forget to realize, oh my God, it's, the 6 o'clock. I'm supposed to be clocking out now, and it's already like 7 or 8.
Yes.
And I'm like, oh my, where did the time go? And that's the question I would ask myself: where did the time go? And so now I actually do what you do, in a sense where I make sure that between certain hours I work, and I make a goal. I set a goal. I have my, post-it note. Guys, post-it notes are amazing. I live by them to schedule my time.
I love it. Post-it note.
Yes. And the more colors, the better. But so for me, I go by my notes and I cross things off as I go throughout my day. And it feels good when I crumble that post-it note and I'm like, I'm done. And my goal is to be done by 5 o'clock at the latest, give or take. Sometimes I don't, but that is a goal. And I've been really trying to set that goal so that I can just close the laptop and make time for myself at the end of the day, to just unwind, to get some food, to read a book, to personal projects on the side that bring me joy. And it's very important that I think a lot of people who are, very much focused on their work do that. Because I know, friends of mine who are really, into their careers and wanting to, level up in their career, but always take time at the end of the day, close that laptop, mark those things off and say, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm just going to put down everything I'm going to do tomorrow. Boom. That's it. That's it for the day. So it's very important to, when you balance that time, to make time for yourself, to in it as that thing that you love.
Yeah.
Because that's a way to show yourself that you love yourself.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Jen. And I think you speak to a lot of women who is in that 9 to 5 work, right? And I also want to reach out to women who are like new entrepreneurs, or who do not have to abide with their time. So the beauty about work like that, which is mine, so I don't have a fixed 9 to 5. The beauty is it's flexible. But the danger in that is it gets flexible to a sense that sometimes I just want to read my book the whole day, you want to do something else the whole day. So it's important, as you are scheduling me time, for women who are entrepreneurs and owning a business, it's important to schedule work time. Do you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah. Like, you see that balance. Yeah. So seeing that balance to do the things that we love. That's why I think you're right. Like, even my kids' calendar is in my calendar too. Like, and they can see my calendar, they're aware about what's happening. So we can slot, like, for example, morning swimming times, you know what I mean? So if I go for a morning swim, I can do Lotus chat. It's the same thing, right? So it's a choice. Yeah. So I think it's important to balance time to do the things that we love. I like you, don't agree that, it's all about work and then no me time. So for me, that me time, and for me, it's in the morning. My morning me time is very, very important. It kind of like sets the energy, sets the time, doing exercise, reading, especially reading. I missed mine today, but yes.
Yes, and I'm glad you said that, Deanne, and that, it's like I said, there's only so many hours in the day, and it's so beautiful that you have that flexibility as an entrepreneur, and like
Mm,
you mentioned, to all of our entrepreneurs, or even individuals who are dreaming about owning their own business and doing
yes.
that, having that flexibility. It is such a beautiful way to use your time when you know that you're basically your own boss, which is
Yes.
great.
Yeah.
And it's something that I myself am also striving to, with some of the side projects that I'm doing. But at the same time, it's like you always have to remember, like you said, Zian, take time for yourself, take time for your
Mm,
kids, take time to just get out in nature and take a walk.
mm,
Sometimes don't stay in four walls all the time. Like, just get some oxygen in you, because
yes.
that oxygen and that sun will just really energize you. It's so important for your body. Trust me, it's just so important. Now, since we did mention, like, your children, and we mentioned that, like, how we're using our time, how there are different seasons in our life where I think how we view time changes based on where we
Yes.
are in our life, right?
Yes.
For you, Deanne, what do you think about, like, how that
Yeah.
transpired?
For me, the obvious one is my kids. I remember my kid is like, she's 10 and 9 right now. But I remember when they were like young, and I'm talking like below 3. Okay. I literally disappeared from the face of the earth. Nobody like really, I don't really go out. I don't have the chance to go out. And it's very, time is like all for the babies. There's no other time for anything else. So I think during that season, all I could think about was probably work and kids. That's it. There's no other time for any other thing. I can't even pick up a book. There's no way. So I wasn't doing any of this when when the kids are like less than 3. But now they are 10 and 9. I have a lot of time. They're very independent right now. So I have a lot more time doing the things that I want to do, the hiking, the drawing, the reading. I love all that on top of work. So the reason why I wanted to bring this up, because I want to, just emphasize to women out there who sometimes watching on YouTube or scrolling on your Instagram, I just want to remind them that you're probably at a different season of your life. So if you're having like a child less than like 3 or even 5 years old, even less than 5 years old, they're still very dependent. Perhaps rather than being very envious of what another woman could like accomplish so much in that short given of time, just really appreciate the times when they are a baby and they want you and their saliva is all over your neck. It's that season, it's very precious. And now they're not like that anymore. At 10 and 9 and 10, they're asking for ice cream. So it's a different season. So I think, especially as a mom, okay, I think a different season of motherhood that correlates with the child's age has a huge impact on how I use time. And I'm very sure when the kids reach their teens, and when they have a phone, which I'm dreading that part, okay? But when they reach that part, I'm sure the conversations are different. The time will also be very different. What about you, Jen?
Yeah, and I love it. I love that you talked more about, like, what it is to be a mom, and just like the beauty it is to see your child grow, and how those early stages are so important in a child's life, to have that mother, attention, that closeness. It's so important for a child. It's funny that you brought this up, because I actually had a conversation with a friend of mine years ago, and we talked about, the fact that we were both wanting to, like, really, go beyond in our careers to reach the different goals that we have with that. And, he said, well, I've thought about the 9 to 5. I've thought about, having that type of job. But I realized that it might be easier, because then I'd get to come home and be with my kids at the end of the day. I also felt like I wanted to be there for my kids as they developed. Like, I wanted to see when my child took their first step, or I'd want to
Yeah.
see when my child said their first word.
Mm,
And so he's very much about wanting to be the entrepreneur. Like, that's his thing. Like, he says, I want to be home for my kids. I don't want to feel like I'm stuck in doing
yeah.
XYZ. And it made me think, like, I do want to be there for my kids. And I know sometimes it can be difficult for parents. But again, like you said, Zian, it's one of those things where figure things out. You schedule it out. You find a way to balance it out. Sometimes you might not be able to do X, Y, Z because of this or that. And for me, as you know, a mother that I want to be, I would want to be there and be present, as you said, be present in the moment with my children early on. And as they get older, they start developing their personalities and getting more independent. And yeah, and then you know that, you know, they can go to school and they'll have friends that they can spend time with. And then it won't necessarily be about mom and dad anymore. It'll be like, I want to spend time with my friends. But again, it's a season. It's a season in your life. Like I'm in preparation for that life right now. And for mothers and fathers out there and anyone taking care of children right now, can I just say you guys are awesome. You guys are rock stars. And for all the things and all the hats that you wear, you know, I really like, I send so much love to all of you.
I received.
Yes. And so on that note, since we talked about how important it is to share that love early on with a child, what is the underlying meaning when somebody doesn't necessarily share that mindset and or thinks that, okay, like when you make an appointment with someone, for example, somebody that, you know, a friend, a loved one, and you just so happen to be however many minutes late all the time, for example.
Yeah.
What is the underlying meaning behind that? Like, what does it say about time and that? Yeah.
So to listeners out there, I'm just going to be honest, you know, like we got this question because we were talking about people in our life who are always late. Okay. And I had this moment in time this week where my husband was late again. And it really frustrates me every time he did that. And I think what frustrated me more is probably the fact that he kind of justified himself and saying that, oh, you know, because I was late because I was working and blah, blah, blah. And I think the underlying meaning that I get as a wife is more like, I'm not important. Like, you say I'm important and I hear that, but then your actions, particularly when you're late, tells me or shows me that I'm not important, that I'm not the priority, you know, and I'm not so sticky about it. Like I get it once a while, you know, if you have an emergency or whatever that pops up, I get it. But then if it's consistently late, then there's something it's not quite right. So I think for me, when someone disrespects your time, and this is just an example of my husband, but it could be like a friend, you know, a boss or a client, but when someone disrespects your time, it kind of shows like they're telling you that their time is more important than yours. For me, it's like a form of like disrespect. And I can see my husband like, you know, dancing there. But anyway, I can see like for me, it's like they're telling you that their stuff is the priority, but not yours. Yeah. But what about you?
Yes. And to all of our listeners and viewers out there, yes, this question came up as we were discussing the importance of time in preparation for this episode. And with Zian, thank you for that example. I think we may have all encountered at some point in our lives that instant where we've made that reservation at that restaurant, or we have told somebody we're going to meet them in a specific place. And maybe that, you know, they just so happen to be running, you know, a half hour late or 15, 20 minutes late. And you know, we're hoping that you can make that reservation or, you know, whatnot. And it does make you think like, you know, we planned this weeks in advance. We've already discussed what was going to happen. I understand, like for me, I understand things can happen in someone's life to make someone late, whether it's like, especially like sometimes traffic or happens at work, or something happens, you know, somewhere where they're like, oh my God, like I'm going to be running 15, 20 minutes late. Like those things happen, and I'm super understanding. But I think when plans are made, there should be that effort. I think it shows that person cares when they make the effort to be there on time.
Yeah.
It shows that they value you as much as you value them in that moment to be. And that's hugely important. And again, it goes back to, how do you value time? What does time mean to you? So to anyone who's had that experience, just know, like, be understanding that things can happen, but also be open to having those conversations. If you do have someone who may be that person who might be late all the time,
Consistently late,
or yes, just know. And especially if you are doing this, say, in the workplace, try not to be late to your meetings in the workplace, because it shows when you are on time, it shows that you are committed to your work. It shows that you are committed to whatever it is that you're doing in that organization or company. So yeah, just keep that in mind, that your presence at that time, at that moment, says a lot about you. And it's so and this will go on throughout your life, so take that as
and I think at work, it's not only just important to start the meeting on time, but it's also important to end the meeting on time. Because sometimes, like they just they drag and drag and drag, and then you cross over to the next one. But then it's like a domino effect, the first meeting delayed, and then the second, the third. That's why I can't go back home at 5. You know what I mean? Like it's like a little effect. So it's very important to start on time, but it's also important to end on time.
Yes. Agree. And speaking of starting and ending on time, and being, mindful and present in the moment with those that we love during the day. How do we, there are a lot of people who might be asking, well, I only have so many hours in the day. How can I get more time to do the things that I love? What are some tips or tricks that we can?
So we spoke about calendar and post-it notes just now. So something that I really do. One of the things that I actually do every single morning when I study is that I have my phone with me with no notifications. And then I put on a timer of 30 minutes like that, and it runs. When I visibly see that the timer is running out, like time is running out, like 30 minutes, somehow my brain functions in such a way that chop, focus, because I'm not looking at my phone, but it's not about me not looking at a phone. It's about my mind wandering about different things that I need to do for the day. So that's when I lose focus. That's when, although I'm at that moment in time, but I'm not concentrating. So this really, really helps for me. I'm also thinking of a new method, because sometimes even with this, for me, I get distracted. So I'm open for new suggestions, maybe from the listeners out there.
Absolutely. So if any of our listeners and viewers out there have any suggestions on how we can add more time into our life to do more things that we love, or to even streamline, our everyday, work schedules, we are totally open. I'm sure there are plenty of apps, plenty of really cool things out there that we would love to hear about. So definitely reach out to us in our email or in the comment section below. We'd love to hear from you. And one of the things that I like to say that I do, and yes, I am one of those people, I set multiple alarms. And that is how I keep myself on track. So I know for me, in the morning, I have my morning alarm. I'm like, okay, it's time to get up, time to get ready to, start the day. And then I'll set another alarm for okay, now that you've eaten breakfast,
leave the house.
It's time for you to go exercise for a little bit. And then I'll set, multiple alarms. And it's weird because they're going off and everybody's like, what, is that another alarm, Jen? I'm like, yes, it is. So it kind of keeps me on task when, during the day. But I think that's one of the ways that I do that. And then the other thing is, if I set time for personal time for relaxation, one of the things that I do is I put my phone on do not disturb during those times. Why? Because it focuses your mind and your body on just you in that present moment, so that you don't have anybody texting, calling, nothing. It's all about you in that whatever hour time that you set for yourself. So that's also another way that you can get more time for yourself, by not having those distractions. So that's another thing that I do. But on
that note, the do not disturb part, my phone has no notifications the whole day. They don't pop up. So that I felt that big change from having a phone with notifications to having a phone without notifications have a huge impact on my focus. So in the sense that I don't get distracted with bing and ding, all that noise, and it's not just the noise. You go oh, I'm curious. Someone texts me, oh, what did she say? And then you go oh, and then you try to process that, and then you try to reply or action upon what was suggested. And also for me, it's about focus, and it works because trust me, my mind will naturally go to the phone and check when I need to. But having no notifications have a huge impact on how I manage my time. And also I wanted to, one more thing that I wanted to add is, in order for us to get more time, is to schedule less. So for me, I used to be the person that has every minute or every hour is busy. I have something to do every hour, then go like pop, 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 you know, like everything on the calendar. My calendar looks crazy. But now I also realize that, like, especially on weekends, okay, when I schedule less, there's only one thing I'm going to do. I'm just only going to do hiking and going to the library. That's it. And then the rest is just maybe open or just nothing, just do nothing. And then I realized when I do that, especially on my weekends, I get more time because I feel that time is not so packed. Like, you know, jumping from one social outings to another. Oh my God, it's so tiring. Yeah, so that works for me.
Oh, I love it, Dean. I'm glad that you mentioned those two things. Thank you for sharing that. And for any of our viewers out there who have that, you know, tendency to want to keep your phone on you like all the time, another way that you can get time for yourself is something that I do, which is on, you know, the weekends sometimes where I have like a Saturday where I'm like, okay, this is my Saturday. I'm just going to do whatever, you know, work on projects, go out, you know, to the park, go for a run. I literally put my work phone far away in like a corner of my room that I don't touch until like Monday. And I make that a point because I want to make sure that my, you know, I'm not like, you know, pulled to pulling it out and checking it, even on vacation. Some of us may want to take our work phones on vacations. Put the phone somewhere else and go on your vacation. It's so important because in that way you focus more on those things that matter in that moment during your vacation.
Yes. Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to share, Jen?
No, I think we did a really great job sharing about what time means to us and you know how important it is and what we can do to get more time. So I'm glad.
Great. So in closing, for those women who are listening out there, I just want to also encourage you that however you spend your time is just your way of spending your time, and don't judge another woman on how they spend their time, because everyone is just on their own season, their own priorities, and hence people have different priorities. You know, you get to only look at your own time. And talking about time, I remember one of my favorite movie, which I highly recommend, is this movie called In Time. So check it out on YouTube or on your Netflix or something. It's this beautiful movie where they talk about how precious time is. They literally have time on their like arms. It was this movie by Justin Timberlake. Very good movie. I highly recommend that. And with that, time is up and we are going to close for today. For those of you who's listening, do follow, like, subscribe, and share on our YouTube and also Spotify called Lotus Chat Worldwide. We welcome suggestions. Do email us at lotuschatworldwide@gmail.com, and we shall see you next week. Bye.